NBA lottery talk here, pregame.tv. We'll be breaking down two lottery teams, not who they're going to be taking in the lottery, but who's going to actually win the game. We got Detroit heading to their game against Cleveland. What a stinker this one is. Brian, why did you pick this game?
They all cash the same, right? That's what you guys always say.
They don't limit you when you go up and want to bet a bad team.
I'm all for it.
It pays the same, right?
Him and Chuck. Chuck pulls out these games.
Now, let me ask you here. Detroit never beats Chicago, and they just beat Chicago. They have to be so happy that they get the monkey off their back. And Cleveland actually had won 2 games in a row and played a great game against Indiana. I actually had Indiana in that game and never was even close to cashing. So we have two teams that arguably are playing well right now.
Yeah, you would never would have thought it. Detroit's won a couple games in a row. Cleveland took Indiana right down to the wire. Ever since the point guard for Cleveland came back, they've been a different team.
Irvin.
Yep. He's a good player when he's healthy. He's one of the best players in basketball. When he's out of the lineup, they just don't have enough scoring. They've had a lot of injuries to their better scorers this year in Cleveland. So, I really think, I talked about this earlier, that I thought they were a bet on team the second half. I think next year we're going to get a lot of value on Cleveland.
What's their season win going to be?
I have no idea. I haven't thought that far.
31?
They got a ton of young talent, man. If you look at that lineup, honestly, forget who's hurt with Gibson, Miller, Walton, and Varejao, who aren't even playing. But then if you look at that lineup, top to bottom, Irving, Ellington, Zeller, Thompson, Gee, that's just their starters right now. Then if you go into their bench, this team's 9 deep right now with Jones, Livingston, Miles, Spites. I mean, they have a club. If they could keep these young players, I agree with you that there's going to be value.
But you get this crap all the time about all these teams that year after year after year, the Memphises win 52, the Denver's do it. In other words, the above average, the number 7 playoff seed team becomes a number 4 playoff seed team. But how many years did the Hornets have to stink and
before
the Bobcats have to stink and they keep stockpiling all these drafts and none of these teams have gotten better? I mean, what team has risen up from bad to even playoff contention recently?
Cleveland, if they're healthy. I think Cleveland next year can be a possible.
That's what they said about Portland, and then they go into the tank. It's like year after year you get that hot team, and I just think these franchises find their levels.
I think though they're 2 games behind
find
Detroit,
their levels.
They're better.
They know
and
they're
LeBron
losers.
James was on Cleveland's team. They were the best team in basketball.
LeBron, not a good example. LeBron James is God, so you could put him
anywhere, and in Charlotte.
He can even win in Miami.
In Charlotte.
You could put him on Florida Gulf Coast and they'd win the tournament. So,
the Gold Coast. Now,
I keep going on that.
Even though they're two games behind Detroit, I think Cleveland, talent-wise, is the better team. Don't you agree?
Detroit's got a lot of injuries this year, too.
No, they're 2 games ahead of Detroit.
Are they?
In the lottery.
Oh, yeah. They are.
How many more ping pong balls is that, by the way?
How many more balls is that?
But you got a team. The reason why, regardless of anything,
why do you like Cleveland, Brian?
I like Cleveland because when bad teams lose other games and they're in revenge against good teams, means nothing. When bad teams are 0-3 on the season against another bad team, this game is life and death for Cleveland. Cleveland does not want to go 0-4 against Detroit.
They've lost that angle a lot.
I would use that in Orlando, and I lost, by the way. 18, 7, and 10 was the 3 games. Detroit's beaten them pretty handily. Cleveland's got their best player back now. Detroit's still battling injuries. Cleveland's still playing hard. The line at 1, so basically they're telling you at this point, basically, that Detroit's the better team. I don't think they're the better team.
I do like the angle. I am curious. If I interviewed the players from Cleveland, I said, what's your record against Detroit this year? How many of them do you think actually would be able to get it correct?
I believe, I played a lot of sports before, and I've been on bad teams. We've all been on bad teams before. You know you're not going to beat the best teams. You know you haven't beat them. But you play a team that you know you're just as good against, and they continue to beat you.
Yeah. When you look at the standings and they're as bad as you.
Yeah.
Doesn't that make sense, VR, that Cleveland's thinking themselves, we can't go 0-4 against Detroit, right? Wouldn't you get up for that game?
Of course.
I think we got a winner here, Brian.
I do.
Let's do it.
Find out tomorrow.
Make it official.
That's my play. I've got Cleveland here. It's a bad team losing to another bad team. I forgot to get the.
You got
What's the line?
You got a free play on the Cavs here, right?
Yes, I have the Cavaliers. Can I do it now?
Yeah, go ahead.
The Cavaliers is my play here. I got in such a good baseball mood. It just fired me up.
Focus.
But you got to take a look at Detroit. Their defense has not played well at all lately. Cleveland's scoring some points. Now they got a guy back in the lineup who can put the ball in the basket. Cleveland's going to win this game. We're getting a really good benefit here because Cleveland played the night before at Indiana. I think there's not going to be any more money on Cleveland because Cleveland gave Indiana all the way down to the wire. So people are going to say,
yeah,
they played really hard. So
still lost.
It would not surprise me if this game goes off at Pick'em. But I like Cleveland. I would lay up to 3 in this game.
Wow.
Confidence,
strong.
I like that. I didn't like the segue into the camera, but I like the presentation.
So now you have a Cleveland
thing.
parlay working. You got the Cleveland Cavaliers and no, you don't like the Indians. That's right. You like the Yankees. Sorry, it's me.
It's not like I like the Yankees. It's just like
He basically said it's going to to be his game of the year.
Yeah, more or less.
You don't need to buy Brian Leonard's packages because you know who he's on
game of the year
in baseball, so do not buy his packages. Do stick with us, pregame.tv, because we don't know who Brian Leonard likes in the NBA, and we have Brooklyn playing Boston. Hey, a good game tomorrow. Brian has a free play on that one. Stay tuned.